with another episode of Masterminds with Brother Shem. And today is definitely going to be a great episode. I promise you that one. And we've had some good responses from our last episode that we had with my good brother, Eric Munjin, and again, thank you for the support. Thank you for those who have subscribed, for those who are continuing to support us in what we're doing to spread this information and enlighten the minds out there. Before I begin in bringing my esteemed guests on the show, and I'll actually be calling them like I called in brother Eric Munjin. We're going to do it like that again. I want to start off by dedicating this show to the memory of some people who transitioned this week. First and foremost, my aunt, Rosa Williams, who passed yesterday on Friday morning. She'll truly be missed, but she's still here with me in spirit. Also want to, also in the memory of the mother of Kerry Alindi Ill, the Alindi Ill family, his brother, his whole family. His mother transitioned again this week. Definitely prayers out to the family, and also last but not least, to the memory of Sister Sharon Atkins Ill, the wife of my brother Dimitri Atkins Ill, whose life was tragically taken this week as well. Just to let you know, as we always say, man is not the body nor the soul. He's a spirit and a part of Allah. And of course, spirit, man, cannot die. But again, we do cherish, our interaction with those while they're on this plane. So we're going to, the show is dedicated to their memory. Going on, I'm going to bring my guests on, but I want to give before I do that, let me just go ahead and read what we have here. Give me one moment. Yeah. Okay. So, so on this episode of Masterminds with Brother Shem, we return with none other than renowned author, graphic artist, and metaphysical teacher, Aseer Duke of Tiers. Yeah, Aseer Duke of Tiers will be here. We will be discussing his graphic novel, The Dark Skull 418, as well as speaking on topics such as who are the Magi, what does it mean to time travel, how do symbols and colors work on the mind, what is the metaphysical meaning of drama, the word drama, what are the parallels between the stories of Heru, Jesus, Superman, were comic book writers influenced by Moorish Science, and much, much more. You will be hearing from one of the most influential masterminds in Moorish Science. And when I say that, I always mean that. This brother just recently did a lecture up in New York recently with none other than Dr. Phil Valentine L, as well as Brother Panic. It was the gathering of the metaphysical masters. And this brother they all dropped some deep knowledge, but I'm particularly because we have Aseer, you got to check out what they do have available of him dropping knowledge on YouTube. I think you can go to Brother Rich's channel. I believe that's I forget the name of the channel, but all you got to do is just pull up Aseer Duke of Tiers, Gathering of the Metaphysical Masters, and check that out. And again, this is kind of new because this is actually a graphic novel we'll be going over. Most of the authors that I brought in have put out work that are classified as non-fiction. However, you will not be disappointed. I put up the link. You can actually download this PDF file and go get it, go copy it. It's a great read. I've read quite a bit of it, but it's still a lot. It's not a short read at all, and is very detailed. He drops a lot of science in this graphic novel, so don't sleep on it just because it's a graphic novel. And I want to go before I bring my brother in, just to give some background of him. And this is just basically off of, I'm just reading this about the author. Aseer Duke of Tiers is a multimedia artist who started art at age 5 after his schooling in the streets of Brooklyn and travels abroad. He began intensive study of natural history and jurisprudence. 5 years later, upon receiving his PhD in jurisprudence, he committed to the memory of his Tamachan roots. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He is consecrated a Grand Duke / Shem of that people by the late great Empress Akwiki King Sinko. And again, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing. He has spent years applying his art to his passion, which has given him the ability to express his people's true and indigenous history. He never stopped drawing comics and developed over 500 characters and 200 stories. So the story we're going over is just one of 200. He married his royal wife, the love of his life, Selena Cordoba, the Empress of 10,000 years, in 2001. As Team Cordoba, Aseer and Selena also enjoyed making music together. Their debut album, The Birth Record, was released in 2008 to critical acclaim. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to now reach out to my brother, Aseer Duke of Tiers. Let me give him a call. Islam.
How you doing, man? How are you, bro?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. You ready?
I'm ready. I have you on air.
Islam to everybody, man. Praise Allah, man. Islam. My brother Islam Il says peace to everybody that's listening. Peace to you as well, my brother.
Peace to the family, brother.
Out some Moorish business, you know how it is.
Indeed.
I'll call you tomorrow, man.
Indeed.
Thanks for having me on, my brother.
Oh, thank you for being on the show. Definitely, thank you, brother. I gave the people the introduction. I went over the it's not a long introduction, but I went over the introduction about you as being an author, coming up in the streets of Brooklyn. Yes, sir. Studying on natural history, jurisprudence, about your lovely wife, Selena Cordoba, and also mention about what you did, your lecture recently, the gathering of the metaphysical masters, which is people are raving about.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what I always like to do, and just for those who are new to this show, I like to introduce Moors who are authors. One of the things I like to do on the show, introduce Moors who are authors and relate the information that they give to our teachings in Moorish science. And in particular, I like to draw parallels to the Moorish Holy Quran, also affectionately known as the Circle 7. So when I read your novel, what what struck me was how deep you went into the sciences of the book. Yes, yes. And I know that you acknowledge yourself as a Moor. You went into the Moors in detail, and you definitely give honors to Noble Drew Ali. If you can give, I like to ask authors this question: if you can give your background story of how you came into Moorish Science, how you came into knowledge of that.
Islam. Thank you, brother. And again, thank you for having me on, and thanks for all the listeners that have been supporting the brother as well as myself. I came into Moorish Science through, well, I first got knowledge itself through the Nation of Gods and Herbs. Peace to Nation of Gods and Herbs. Peace to the Father Allah. Peace to all of the people who came from that school. Being that, again, I had got knowledge. My family has always been like somewhat conscious, but that's even a word nowadays, but had always been somewhat understanding about so-called Black culture. My aunt was a Black Panther, you know what I mean, during the late 60s or whatever, once they started to translate over. And my grandmother was romantically involved with the attaché to the ambassador to the Gambia when I was a child. So around the time that, you know, X-Clan, Brand Nubian, you know what I'm saying, all of that stuff was coming out, I was really all in, you know what I mean, when it came to understanding who our people were historically and all of that. But it was my grandmother's boyfriend, the attaché to the Gambia, who was the first to tell me that I wasn't African. Now, this is at a time, you know, red, black, and green, Italians, and all that stuff was out. So it was very much a shock to me. But years later, so from there, I got knowledge itself through the Nation of Gods and Herbs and understood, you know, the square miles of the planet Earth and the original Asiatic black man and all that stuff. And a little after that, I ran into an elder who I had known through my mother. His name was Bilal Muhammad, blessed dead. And I went into his store. He had a cultural store, and he had this book called 100,000 African Horses. And in that book, when it showed Western Africa, it had this word Moors like all over it. So I was like, well, who are the Moors? What's that? And he said, oh, you don't know what that is? And he said, well, we are Moors. And it just so happens that every year, me and two of my other brothers dress up in our Moorish habit and ride through the streets in Brooklyn on the horses, you know, in Moorish garb. You should come out tomorrow and see. So I went out the next day to see that, and it literally changed my life, man. I saw these Moors dressed in total habit. I mean, like, it was like seeing somebody in 1492, like a Moorish knight on a horse, really coming through on his thing, to the point where I'm in my Timbs and, you know, my jeans and stuff, so I'm feeling like underdressed, like underwhelmed around even walking next to them. Just seeing them in that context gave me an understanding. And then from there, he told me that, you know, there's a book called Golden Age of the Moor. So from that point on, I started to see the correlation between the Nation of Gods and Herbs and the Moorish Science Temple and the Nation of Islam, and how all of these things basically came out of what the Prophet had laid down in the 20s and all of that. And I, as a Moorish American or as a Moor, I always saw the connection between us that binded us all more than what broke us apart. Being that Moorish Science, being that the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Gods and Herbs, these are all indigenous American, distinctly American organizations based on spirituality. But because they all came from a prior root, I was always the type that, well, if this is the source of it, I'd rather be in the source than the byproduct. And so from that point on, I just started to go heavy into the understanding of the Moors, to the point where I got to the point where I realized in order to get the full understanding of it in terms of how it is to be a Moorish American, I definitely need to join a temple. And then once I became a card carrying member of the temple, I started to see, some of the issues and started to the historical aspect as to why some of them are in the positions they're in. And so from that point on, I chose to, dedicate a large portion of my time to get a lot of this stuff consolidated in a means that we as people can actually, not only benefit from it, but understand what was left for us. You know what I mean? As Moroccans born in America. And the fact that we have a distinct identity that has nothing to do really with the continent, or, we have a distinct identity that's indicative to ourselves. That we don't always have to claim another continent or another nationality to feel like we are identified or be identified by. And that's how it's been ever since 1997 for me,
Indeed. Yeah, that's a journey right there, brother. And you said 1997 in Brooklyn. That's where it all started. Indeed, that's great.
For me, that's where it kind of started for me. I had got knowledge of self every year before the Nation of Earth, but like I said before, then it was more like a pseudo, maybe Pan-Africanism situation. But my people were still pagan, like my mother and them were still Christian. You know what I'm saying? Western Christian. So it wasn't like they wasn't trying to imbue me with all of that, but they still had a certain degree of decorum to understand that we have an identity, or whatever identity was. So it wasn't until maybe 2002 then I'm coming into the crib to see my grandmother, and I'm wearing my feathers, and she looked at me and she say, "Oh, you a Moor now?" I was like, "What?" I'm like, "You know what this is?" I'm like, "You know what this is?" I've told the story before, but it still amazes me. So I was like, "Yo, you know what this is?" She was like, "Yeah, I knew a lot of yous and bays back in the days and all of that. Like your great grandfather and this and that." I'm like, "So how are you raising me Christian? How are you? You know what I'm saying? How are you Southern Baptist, but you sending me to a Lutheran school because a Lutheran school closer?" You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm basically just a Christian based on convenience. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it just showed me also how, even though our people are not so much, even though they'll say certain things, like they're about their culture, they're about this and that. Most people just want to get along, man. Most black people, so-called black people, especially with no knowledge of themselves, no nationality, they'll believe anything just to kind of, get along to go along. And I was never that type of person. I was never the type of person where I would take an inferior position just because it made somebody else feel more comfortable. I feel like that's a deep-rooted pathology in melanated people. And we don't practice, standing up for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just say anything, man. Like, it's not cool. But what I saw with the Moorish thing is that as Moors, though, everything I read dealing with Moors always dealt about, what's up, Kate? It always dealt with what you couldn't do to them. You know what I'm saying? When I read Negro stuff, it's always like, oh, well, you can enslave them, you can beat them, you can own them, you can do this and that. But whenever Moor stuff come up in history, it's always like, okay, well, you can't enslave them, you can't put them under yoke, you can't have this on it. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'd rather be that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if I could choose, I'm going to choose this shit. I'm going to choose that which is the path of least resistance. And thus far, I've seen this Negro thing, this African American thing, this black thing, there's a lot of resistance to that. This Moorish thing, the only resistance I'm really getting is from people that's Asiatic, that's not Moors.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the crack ain't telling me that. When your paperwork and your situation and how you come in your proper person is correct, these crackers don't give you no problems, man. I've seen it. But when you come in there on some half-ass, like, oh, well, this is what the paperwork say, anything can happen to you. But to me, it's a greater allegory for life. The more you're comfortable in yourself and the more you strive to be yourself and reach the level of your excellence, it's not about reaching somebody else's level. Like, I'll never be on the level of Jay-Z. And that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not something that I would aspire or get my children to aspire to be. But the average 85 person, you know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
They think it's cool because they're not predicating it on anything outside of survival. But when you're a Moor and you're a Moorish American, you want to live. You know what I'm saying? And living is different than surviving. And I don't think we as original people really are understanding the difference between the two.
That's true. That's true. And one thing you just said that, makes so much sense, and something that I've heard you talk about in the past, is that how we have to internalize, being a Moor. Because,
yes,
I'm speaking from my experience. I've been in situations where, just my character, you know what I'm saying? Just how I carried myself, no paperwork. Oh, they just bow down.
You got what you wanted.
Exactly.
Favorable reply, right?
Favorable reply. That's right. Intelligent
That's
tone.
right,
That's right, Mo. So yeah.
That's right, Noble.
Indeed. And I've been checking you out. Let me tell you just a background story how I came across you, brother. Like in 2008, when I moved to North Carolina. I'm currently in North Carolina in Raleigh. And a brother from Georgia, we was all studying up on the Moors and whatnot, and he gave me a bunch of DVDs. One of the DVDs was a 3-disc set of you. It was the only one that had 3 discs on it. I was like, man, how I'm gonna watch all this? And it was it was you breaking down. It did. You was going in, bro. You was breaking down about Obama.
The Obamatopia joint. Right?
Yes,
right.
Indeed. That was my first introduction to you, and then I think a year later, another sister who a Moor, she told me about you. She told me about your show that you had, the Super Heru, the House of El, yep, and all of that. And I just been hearing just good things about you, brother, ever since. And then when I saw you, indeed, brother, when you did your thing up in New York this year, I was like, that brother, I gotta reach out to him. And Islam, and yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to get into the book. First, we was dialoguing, and you one of the things you asked me was, give me your feedback and what was your favorite character. And I'm telling you, without question, and y'all have to read this. Let me just give let the people know. One of the great things that you did was you actually provided kind of a landscape of a lot of information for people to digest. You didn't just, it's not just fantasy. Like you talk about historical characters, actual things that go on, and it's interwoven into the story. So
thank you, bro.
Yes, sir. You give a background. So one of the characters, like I said, is my favorite character, is the sister, the Velvet Edge.
The Velvet Edge,
yeah, man. She's
That's
the truth.
Too.
She's the truth. And I kept seeing the reoccurring theme of the Magi. She's a Magi. She was under the tutelage of the Black Hermit.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to ask you, because one of the questions that we have that we're going to discuss is, who are the Magi? So I want you just, based on your study, just tell the people who exactly are the Magi and how that played into this story.
Islam. When I was doing the knowledge to the Spanish people have what they call Three Kings Day, right? And Three Kings Day in some Spanish cultures is even bigger than Christmas. You know what I'm saying? That's because the three kings represent on a metaphysical level, we're talking about, the idea of Christ being a actual physical being, right? And the three kings will represent the people that came to see him at the manger. But if we look at the allegorical aspect of it, of Christ representing the awakening of the pineal organ, right? Then the three kings would be the brain responses that help trigger that, which would be the activation of pituitary, hypothalamus, and pineal organ, right? Working in concert to then see the Christ or activate the Christ that's in the manger. The manger being the body, the Christ being the consciousness that's activated when one reaches the level of truly accepting self, both the higher and the lower aspect. So the Magi, going back to the physical world now, represented those ancient Moors who were a part of what they called the high priesthood of Anu. Anu, in pre-dynastic Kemet or ancient Kemet, will represent the what we call Anpu, which would be the symbol of carbon, i.e. melanin, that was codified in the visage or the effigy of a god they call Anubis, right? So when you talk about the Dogon, that's why you have the people they call the Dogon who wind up in so-called Western Africa, right? And then they basically would follow the phases of Sirius as well as Canis Major. Canis being another name for canine, right, which represents dog, which reversed then represents God, which then represents, like I said, on the metaphysical tip, representing melanin or the activation of carbon in the physical sense, right? So the Magi were those high priests of Anu that went to different aspects of the empire and basically helped set up situations for people to hold on to that ancient aspect of knowledge that predated the religious aspect of stuff. So the religious application of knowledge became the physical or the body or the ego's way of anchoring the soul to the physical world. Whereas the ancient people, the super ancient people, the Magi, i.e. the Moors or the ancient peoples, understood that life, time, all of these things were all basically one and the same. Like what we think, like when we say galaxy and we say dimension, we think we're talking about two different things, but they're really the same thing. You know what I mean? A galaxy is a dimension. A dimension in a galaxy is a universe. See what I'm saying? But what happens is we grew up in a Western situation that automatically separates the spirit from the body, from the mind. But we come from a culture where they all work simultaneously. So the Magi were those people who represented the high priesthood of any sort of ancient society that was able to couch the true elements of the society in whatever the religious text or religious dogma or whatever was going on in that society at the time. You know what I'm saying? So when the three kings came to see Christ in the manger, they basically was following an astrological, if you look at the Christian story, they're following an allegorical story of where the king would be born. But if we now take it into an allegorical story now, we're really talking about us finding the king or the queen within ourselves and activating that with the three kings that we were born with, which again is the pituitary, hypothalamus, and pineal. So I wanted to write or use the characters in the book to represent the archetypes that we usually give and give the representation of to something else. You know what I'm saying? So the velvet edge in the book really represents the feminine nature positively activated. You know what I mean? In which now the feminine, because in every universe that ever will or could exist, there's a womb. You know what I'm saying? So that means in every universe that can or will exist, there's a feminine principle. You know what I mean? Just like there's a male principle. So in the book, the velvet edge really is just a physical representation or is an allegorical representation of how what we understand magic to be is actually a form of the sympathetic nervous system. You know what I mean? It's the thing within us that we as men might refer to as feminine, but it's the aspect of us that is about life and the preservation of that. You know what I mean? From an intuitive basis as opposed to a strict logical basis.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. So it's transformation in a sense. Yes. So it's transformation in that aspect. And I want to just give you, because what I want to do is give some parallels. I'm going to be reading some sections of your book, but I also going to read some sections of the Circle 7. So I want to, because I think this will go right in line with what you just follow up to what you just said. So when we look at chapter 19 of the Circle 7, right, and it speaks about the Magian priest. So there's a section that says in 22, the Magian priests were in the silence of Persepolis and Casper and the Magian masters who were first to greet the child of promise in the shepherd's home in Bethlehem were with the priest. So you broke that down about the 3 wise men, and then it gets down to the 27. It says the problem of the age has been solved. A son of man has risen from the dead, has shown that human flesh can be transformed into flesh divine. Before the eyes of men, this flesh in which I come to you was changed with speed of light from human flesh. And so I am the message that I bring to you. So Islam. Now, you mentioned something very key about those glands. So in reference to transforming the speed of light, human flesh or flesh divine, how does I know you touched on it, but can you elaborate more in the transformation of flesh to flesh divine in that way?
Right.
Yes.
Like when you or anybody, I can't necessarily speak to other cultures or other nationalities, but in terms of being a Moorish American Asiatic, that's a specific way of being. You know what I mean? It's kind of like people who smoke weed. Like people who smoke weed, like you know what it's like to like be ready to roll and ready to get your thing, and then don't have no lighter. You know what I mean? Then it's like the look for the lighter. So like every cultural idiom has a certain thing that's only really recognized by other people in that cipher. You know what I'm saying? So like being a Moorish American is like being in a constant situation of people of, it's almost like always being around people and they're always amazed at how you carry yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're always in a situation of having to basically explain to them and show them how ignorant they are based on the questions they ask you, just based on you wearing a fez. Like one of the most asked questions of Moors when they see you in habit is what? Oh, you're a Shriner?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But most of the people who ask you that questions know that you're not or cannot. They know that you're not because you've never seen a Shriner outside of his head. Like you don't see that.
Right.
So if you know, and also you know I'm not a Shriner because I don't have nothing written on my head. You know what I'm saying? So when you asking me that, that's not really a question. That's really a password. You understand what I'm saying? Because really they trying to see how you're going to respond. So when they say, "Oh, that's a nice hat," then the necessary response on my end is, as a Moorish American or Moor of the Empire, is, "Oh, thank you." Right? I'm gonna accept the compliment, but I'm gonna define the compliment. So thank you, but it's not a hat. See? So then the next question from there now becomes what? Oh, I'm sorry. What is it? See what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Now they already know. The fact that you said it's not a hat, they already know that you're not whatever it is they thought you was. You think what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because Muslims don't wear this stuff. Let's keep it real. Muslims don't wear no feathers. Arabs don't wear no feathers. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
true.
they don't do that. None of them do that. Matter of fact, Arabs don't even use the symbol with a crescent and the star to represent Islam. That's not even a symbol.
Right.
They don't acknowledge that as a symbol for Islam, because to do that they would have to what? Acknowledge the woman, right? And they ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
Right? Because they want to continue their matriarchal homogeny over the womb. Because if they can control the womb of their woman, they control the world. Right? Because as much as Muslim women may not like wearing hijab and all of that, they still giving birth to niggas that's willing to throw acid in women's face to keep them doing that. So they're supporting their repression. So why should I want to free them from something that actually makes them feel free? That's the difference between being a Moor or Muslim and then being anything else. Because as a Moor, I believe in freedom so much that it stands that if your version of freedom calls for you to be enslaved, then I'm going to support that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas Negroes, African Americans feel like everybody should be free. But really what they're saying is that the people that should be free is the people that I like. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That identify with what I'm about. Dig? And that's what I'm saying, even with the understanding of being yourself.
Indeed.
We are from the family of the prophet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whether it be the prophet Muhammad, the prophet Noble Ali, whatever you want to say, we from the actual family. We are what was called in the Quran the Bayat-il, the people of the house. You know what I'm saying? We are from the. It's a difference when your father owned the business and you just going and getting a job. You know what I'm saying? In the business, our father set the business up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we're beneficiary of that, which is why we as Allah, as Bays and Eels, fulfill the will of Allah. Again, the difference between a Muslim and a Muslim. If you remember us growing up in America, everybody was Muslims up until like Beirut, up until the late 80s. Then they started calling y'all Muslims.
Right. It's true.
But now everybody forget that. Just like you had when I was coming up, you had all these rappers talking about how great Trump was, how much money how they balling just like Trump. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was all Trump down and Trump this and Trump that. Now this nigga president. Now it's all about F Trump. But y'all was just digging this nigga up.
Right.
In the 90s, in the early 2000s. Y'all niggas was trying to petition him to get on his show for him to fire y'all. Now y'all got a problem with him being president. See what I'm saying? That's
right.
what I mean. That's the problem with Negroes and blacks and colors. Like they fickle. They don't stand. They don't stand on nothing. Everything they stand on is based on sand. You know what I'm saying? Everything they stand on is based on what somebody else told them they are. We as Moorish Americans, we stand on what we are. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to be nobody else. I ain't trying to be no Arab. I don't gotta speak no Arabic to be Islamic.
Right.
Who told y'all that?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yep. That's real. In us being the original man and woman, we originated all of it anyway. So
all of that anyway.
That's saying.
Why am I fighting to be in the bathroom when I own the whole mansion? They got niggas in the bathroom and telling the people in the bathroom that the bathroom is the mansion. Meanwhile, they lock you in the bathroom, then they run in the mansion, and they don't have no knowledge, no money to fix it up or whatever, but they just running around it while you locked in the bathroom. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be, man. The prophet didn't just come. When Toussaint Louverture came and freed Haiti, he didn't just free Haiti. He freed the whole thing, man. He freed the island. He freed South America. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He freed Louisiana. You think what I'm saying? Like, when wars do shit, we do shit for real. Like, we do it big. How y'all doing? All right? We do it big, man. We don't just be thinking for self. That's the modern Western way of understanding things. Toussaint did this free the people in Haiti and leave the people in the Dominican Republic enslaved. You don't do that. But the people in the Dominican Republic today let the Haitians be enslaved. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they think they Spanish.
Exactly.
That's what I mean. It's a maladapted way where they believe that being white or being light skinned is better. This is an intrinsic thing in the fabric of modern reality that has been inundated since the times of the British East India Company. I don't give a damn what you tell me about an Indian. If I'm speaking to an Indian, I'd rather speak to a Dravidian. I'd rather speak to somebody that know what it's like to be black than somebody who's just as black as me, but because they are treated like they like. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They think they different. You understand? Those people are so racist over there. They would tie brooms to the back of dark-skinned people's bodies, so that way when they walked, the broom would erase their footprints on the sand, on the earth. You understand? And niggas talking to me about Gandhi. You know how racist Gandhi was?
Yeah.
Gandhi hated black people. Not to mention he was a pederast that used to test his sexuality by sleeping naked in the bed with his sister. And if he could wake up without feeling sexual urge to touch her, then he felt he was doing something. This nigga Martin Luther King, Michael King, patterned himself after. And they said the only thing a black woman could do with Martin Luther King is tell him where the white woman was at. This is the level of depravity that our people have been under all these years, because we grew up reading books like Roots and shit, and these books and stuff that really wasn't even written by black men.
Right.
Roots was written by a Jew named Max Fisher. Look it up. He's still getting the copyright money off of that.
Exactly. That's real.
Haley died penniless. You know what I'm saying? That's how they do these bootleg niggas. After they use them up to have them shit on their people and destroy their credibility amongst their own people, they let them die. They let them die with no help. Look at W.B. Du Bois. Look what he did to Marcus Garvey. Right. What happened? He wound up dying penniless in Ghana.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Look at Cosby.
Like look at him. Look at him. And remember, they love that man. Them crackers used to love Bill Cosby the way they love OJ. They loved that boy.
Yeah.
He couldn't do no wrong. They loved him so much they allowed him to play Lucifer in the movie. Now you know when they get that honor.
Yep.
Right?
That's real.
2 movies he played the devil. The devil and Max Devlin twice. You know what I'm saying?
2 times.
And they let the nigga play him more in the what was that movie where they was going to the lodge, the Saka Zulu lodge? Remember that movie? Let's Do It Again.
Let's Do It Again. Yeah. When they had the pheasants, right?
Saturday night.
Right.
Yup. When they was trying to make money for the temple.
Yep.
You see?
That's right.
And this is what I'm saying, Moor. Like, it's no coincidence that one of the last Moors that the Moors fought against Charlemagne and them was the Battle of Poitiers, and then Sidney Poitier. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Wound up playing a Moor and all that. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Our people suffer from lack of knowledge, man. That's really it.
Indeed.
We get our stuff together, it's over. When we go back to the throne, everybody else going back to the cave. So they trying to hold on to this as long as possible, boy. That's why, like with my book, man, I felt, Sean Bell thing, the Timor Rice thing, the Trayvon Martin thing, if that was even real, and all that. All of these murders, like, it got to a point where I really felt like I was suffering from like PTSD, like constant agita. Like, when is it gonna happen to me? And I said, you know what? I'm not supposed to live in fear, so I gotta channel this. So I said, well, wouldn't it be dope if there was like an actual hero that would go out there and pop all of these crooked cops and pop these people? What if there would? And then that's where the Midnight Man came from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In the Dark Scope 418, he came from that. Because the Punisher, I grew up liking the Punisher and Marvel comics and stuff, and he was cool and all that. They even did a Punisher book where he actually became a black man. They actually turned him into a black man.
Okay. I didn't even know.
And then you know what happened as soon as he became black?
Well, they killed him?
No, he got caught up in a traffic stop and they Roddy Kinged him. Real talk, boys. It's a comic book. Real talk.
Man.
Soon as he became the Punisher, now remember, he the white man Punisher, Frank Castle, killing people, impunity, no problem.
Right.
Soon as that nigga became melanated, he got stopped by the police and they Rodney Kingdom, the first issue. You dig? Like, this is what I'm saying. So it's not like they don't know. The same people who are writing these comic books and writing these superhero movies are the same people going to these sexual rituals, going to these orgies, who are racist, who grew up in Nazi ritualistic programming,
Right.
But because, they'll make a Black Panther movie, you think it's different.
Yeah.
No. Nobody that acted in Black Panther made more than $1 million. How about that? And that's the biggest movie that Marvel has ever made.
Wow.
Nobody that was on the cast made more than $1 million more. Are you telling me these niggas ain't slaves?
Oh, man. Full time. Full time. Yeah, man.
Only thing a black woman could do is tell Michael B. Jordan where the white women at.
Wow.
But my thing is, why do black people, pseudo-black people, or so-called black people, why do they think that these people in Hollywood is actually anything other than what they are?
Right.
Actors.
Right.
Liars. That's what they are. Like, an actor is a liar. Period.
Right.
It has nothing to do with them being, now in their own impersonal lives, That's something different. But I don't believe anything I see on TV.
Indeed. Indeed. Now, Moore, I want to ask you real quick because this is pertaining to your book. There's a part. Now, let me ask you before this. What year did you write that book, The Dark Skull, 418?
That's a good question. It took me about 5 years to write, but I actually printed it, I believe, in 2012, between 2012 and 2014.
Okay. And the reason why I'm asking it is because you dropped the jewel
earlier.
Earlier? Okay. Indeed. Because you dropped the jewel.
It was like right after Obama became president, so it might be like 2009, anywhere between 2008 and 2014 when I put it out.
Got it.
2008 and 2010. I gotta really do the nods for that again.
Indeed.
But it was right when he became president.
Right at that time. Okay. Because I wanted to ask you a couple of things that what you dropped early in the book is you spoke about a character called Victor Cascade.
Yes.
Right. And in there you spoke about his upcoming movie. He was a film director, where it was about the secret Mars colony.
Yeah.
Is starring.
And they talk about doing with it now. You heard about that? Yeah.
That's crazy. And then you said it was starring a celebrity accused of sexual molestation.
Like Sarah Palin or some shit. Yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah, and it's like, yo, like you was kind of like ahead of time with that, because now we see what's going on in Hollywood with the whole Harvey Weinstein joint. I was like, yo,
so much stuff in that book turned out to actually happen that I almost kind of like quieted that side of it, because it almost kind of freaked me out to certain degrees. Because I wrote the reason why it's so long too is because I wrote it from the understanding that I might never ever be able to write another one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was like, let me just drop as much stuff as I can in this joint, as possible, because it was so, I strive to imbue it with the understanding that there's things in it that I felt like was going to happen, but I couldn't necessarily prove. So I wanted to write it in the context of what I knew it could be. So that way, if it did happen, people would be like, yo, I read about that. You know what I'm saying? And again, man, it did. A lot of it did. A lot of it had.
Yeah, bro. You did that. You definitely did that. Like, you was spot on with.
Thank you, Moore.
Yes, sir. With a lot of things that you talked on. And you mentioned about Obama. The passage I want to read here, and correct me if I guess people can find out. The Harold character. The Heru character, is that a parallel of Obama? Because that's what I got of it. Okay.
Yeah, that's a parallel to Barry.
Okay, gotcha.
And then the wife was like Michelle.
Indeed. Okay, right. Yeah, because she was the warrior, right? She was the yeah.
She was the one ready to get busy.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Which is kind of how she was perceived by everybody else. Like, they talk mad shit about president. The most they said about her was like, oh, she could be a man and she kind of looked like a monkey. Other than that, they really didn't kind of mess with her like that. And even then, when they said that monkey stuff, it was real like niggas got acting for that. So they kind of deaded it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, quick, fast. And there's a section that I want to read from your book, brother. And this is on page 344. So I'm going to start towards the end and go into 345. This is where Harold is having that dialogue and interacting with the different ancestors. It says, at that moment, the diner door opened and 3 men walked in. Once they seated themselves in a booth, the door shut on his own. As Harold looked around, he also noticed a man and woman sitting in a shadowy booth by the kitchen. Then, when he looked back over at the booth, he could clearly see the men were the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and Khalid Muhammad.
Yeah.
Icabone, you need anything else? asked the Latin cook. And then it goes on to the next page. As Harold turned to reply to the cook, he realized it was Che Guevara. Che Guevara, yeah. No, thank you. The half-human Anubis tapped Harold on the shoulder. When he turned, he was frozen by his gaze. Quote, I know you're bugging out right now, but it gets even iller, homie. Anubis said in an ancient-sounding language that Harold could hardly hear as English. The man on his right tapped him 3 times. He turned and recognized him as Noble Drew Ali, who said, you are not really here. Your soul is traveling at high velocities, and your superconscious has constructed an environment to house your mind on the journey. You are becoming a strand in the web of time, a number in the clock of destiny. The enormous status you held in your waking life attracted images from the species mind pattern that spawned you. You are bound by the limitations of your own choices. Choices are the ripples in the oceans of time. So I want you to expound on that, brother.
When they decided they was gonna make this guy president, I remember when I first saw that address that he did at the Democratic National Convention. When I looked at that nigga, I was like, this is the nigga they're gonna try to pump as like the new black messiah. Like he kind of come off like Malcolm, a little bit, you know, workable like King and stuff like that. But then he's a little street from Chicago, you know what I mean? And then he got a Muslim name. I'm like, who was this nigga? Then next thing I know, he became the biggest thing to slice bread. So that's when I did the knowledge, like. So once they decided to make him president, I already kind of felt like the fix had been in, and they were going to use him as the shield to lull everybody back to sleep, you know, especially melanated people. But I also knew he wasn't really going to do stuff for melanated people, because I've never seen any so-called position of power, black man of power, ever do that, other than the prophet, other than Marcus Garvey,
right?
Other than maybe Khalid Muhammad. You know what I mean? Other than Elijah Muhammad. So I thought, so at the time now, this is when all the conspiracy theories started coming out around the guy, you know? And I had been doing the nonsense from the Democratic Convention, and I had known from them, like, his whole background story sound like a CIA novel. You know what I mean? Like, he's an African father with the white wife, but then the white African father was also connected to Patrice Lumumba, you know what I'm saying? And then he wound up dead, and then the wife wound up marrying some Indonesian government official. Like, it just seemed like a op.
Yeah.
He just seemed like a op from the door. So then when I started looking at Michelle, then it was like, okay, well, she was actually part of the Robinson family, and then her brother is like the head Hebrew. He's a part of like some sort of, he runs like the Hebrew congregation out there, whatever. So I just felt like these dudes was already chosen for this.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, what would it be like to be in a situation for somebody like that? So at the time, the book was also based on conspiracies. You know what I'm saying? And because the conscious community was really exposing a lot of these conspiracies, I thought, what would it be like to live in a world where all of these conspiracy theories was true? You know what I'm saying? Where every conspiracy theory you could ever think of actually turned out to be true. What would it be like to live in a world like that? So in that, I figured, well, being that his character, I won't want to call him Obama, but I'll call him Harold. You know what I mean? In a sense that I wanted to explore what it would be like for somebody in that position to maybe want to actually do things for black people, but knowing based on how he was raised in the system, knowing he can't do that. And then what would it be like for somebody like that to be confronted by the ancestors that he's talking about representing? So the diner, the reason why it took place in a diner was because, remember Heath Ledger?
Yes.
Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Okay, the guy played the Joker?
Yep.
Okay. Right? The night that dude died, I don't know, listeners might find this funny, but the night he died, I had a dream about that guy. And in the dream, I walked in the diner, and this nigga was at the diner with his head down, right? And when I walked to the front of the diner, he lifted his head up and was looking at me, and I was like, "Oh shit, you Heath Ledger!" In the dream, now this is a dream I had. And he was like, yeah. But then he was real angry. I remember him being angry, like really upset in the dream. And all he kept saying was like, it wasn't supposed to be like that. I didn't do it, right? So then I realized in the dream, oh, you dead. And then in the dream, I start putting a nigga on. I was like, oh, they sacrificed you, nigga. You don't know? You ain't seen Michael Clayton? They hit you with the pills and all that shit. Wow. They killed you, buddy. I'm sorry. But, you know, this is me in the dream talking to the guy. Yeah. And then as I'm talking to him, he's getting more irate because I'm telling him what happened. But then at the end of the dream, after I told him everything, he was mad calm and thanked me and then walked out. And then I woke up. So the scene in the book where he's talking to the guys in the diner, that was a direct reference to me as what happened with the Heath Ledger thing. In the sense that I wondered, like, what it's like to somebody like Obama. What would it be like for somebody like Obama to know you live in style? You know that you working against your people at every instance, but everybody around you that look like you feel like you helping them out. What would it be like to be confronted now with the real ancestors who know that you full of shit?
Right.
How would he react then? And that's how that scene came up. Originally, I wasn't going to put the prophet in it because I didn't want to make it that literal. But then I was like, you know what, man? I may never get a chance to write a book again.
Right.
So, you know, the hell with it. See what happens.
Indeed. I like the fact that you had him actually make that statement because that was so profound that he would be the one to actually explain, you know what I'm saying, just his actual existence. Yes.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you seen it like that because that's how it was to me because they was treating Obama like he was the prophet.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
They was really worshiping him like he was, you know, gonna, you know, part the Red Sea and bring all the Negroes to the White House and we was all gonna live together in peace and you know that wasn't gonna happen. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Like it was too good to be true.
Right.
So I wanted to, you know, just like I said with the Midnight Man, like I wanted to be able to get back at these guys. So what's a way to be able to do it without, you know, losing my physical freedom in the physical world? Well, inspire. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, okay, well, if Stan Lee is going to base Malcolm X and Martin Luther King on Professor X and Magneto, then I'm going to do the same thing.
Indeed.
No, we need a hero whose target is police. We need a hero that's target them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
We need a real Punisher. We need something like that. And then what happens in the book is he winds up becoming the first actual official supervillain. Because any black man that would target police,
right,
you know what I'm saying,
is a villain.
Considered a supervillain. He would be on the level of a Dr. Doom or, you know what I'm saying, or a Lex Luthor or something like that. You know?
That's real. Yeah, that's real.
So I feel like in some reality, it's going down like that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. Because enough people will read it and make it real in the subconscious to create a universe where that's a potential reality to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, as many times I done grown up watching these niggas create different realities, why every other alternate reality the Nazis always win? Or the Confederacy, right, the United States win, and then everybody else is a subject. Like, nah, man. That can't be the only reality, alternate realities that exist. It can't always be the crackers at the top, man. I'm sorry.
Right. Right. Yeah, man. That's so true. And you said something about the subconscious mind. I want to ask you that question, but before I do that, 23 Cold Case was on the chat. He asked the question, is there a short film in the works? Brother Aseer.
Inshallah, man. That's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on I'm working on putting out because we're almost in the 12th, either the 10th or the 12th anniversary year of it coming out, you know? So we created such a cult following that I would like to put it back out with a in like a colored format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then break it up into 3 different books. And then analogous to that, do a like an animated movie.
Oh, that'd
Maybe
be dope.
get it on Netflix or something like that, and then place it out like a series.
Right.
So that way we could really do it in, you know what I mean, and really get to the root of it. I just feel like a lot of people, networks and stuff might be scared. Like funny story, Jeanette Kahn from DC, right? When I first was about to put the book out, I had a meeting with her, and she was talking to me about it, and I was showing the characters and talking the story. And then when she read one of the characters, she was like, "Wait, so this character is a reptilian?" This is how she said it. Like she couldn't even mouth the word. That's how I knew she was one. That's how I knew she was one fan because she couldn't even say it. And I was like, "Yeah, you know, one of them is from a reptilian type of race or whatever." Now this is the chick that basically owned the rights to Superman.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, "Well, that might be hard. You know, the characters are so exotic looking." This is how she said. She said they're so exotic looking, and they're so ethnic. I say, "Yeah, that's the shit now." I'm literally talking to her like I'm talking to you. I said, "Yeah, that's the shit now. You don't know?" I said, "Yeah." I said, in Earth society, y'all got a black Superman. So what's the problem? She was like, "Oh well, no, it's not really that. It's just the fact like I would wonder like how we would do it because the genre, the characters look so, you know, like I've never seen them like that." I said, "That should make it more marketable, you know." I said, "But y'all already live in Moorish culture." I said, "You know Superman is a Moor." I said, "You know he's from the house of El. And I don't know about you, but there's no Caucasian people named El." Now I'm in the DC headquarters talking to this chick in her private office, more like real talk. Talking to her because I feel like she's not gonna help me no way. So why am I here trying to like make it like she's gonna open it up for me? Let me say what I want to say. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? Whatever. So I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, Superman's from the house of El, and the Eels or the Elves, those are Moors." I said, "He even wears the Moroccan flag on his back as a cape." If you didn't see this, Graham, if you didn't see this chick, man, she was like, "You know, I never thought of it that way." I said, "Yeah, most people don't. You know, they most of them don't." I said, "But in the end, you know, I'm just trying to put it out for people to look like me." I said, "Because not every superhero that's melanated can be subordinate to Superman, you know." Just so you know, we're in a different time now, you know?
Yeah.
So needless to say, nothing came from that, but I didn't expect it to. But I was thankful for the meeting. So at least she know not every black so-called cartoonist or artist or whatever is going to do the step and fetch it thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you need to know that some of us do know our history and know that you can't have Kal-El without a Moorish empire. I'm sorry.
Right.
You can't have, you know what I'm saying, Zara L without associating that with the Moors, especially if the nigga's wearing a Moorish flag on his back. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's just what it is, man.
Indeed.
Every superhero that they have created is based on something out of our culture's mythology.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like everything.
Right. Right.
So the point is, we don't even go to the movies anymore unless there's a superhero in it. What's up with that? So real talk. What's the last movie you saw that ain't had no superhero in it? In the movies?
Can't think of it.
You know, I'm not gonna spend more money on a drama. Like who's gonna do that? I'm not gonna spend $15 and sit there and watch a drama. I'm not gonna spend, you know what I mean, $20 on a romantic comedy. Like that's what Redbox and shit is for. You know what I'm saying? When I go to the movies, I want to see something that I don't see every day. And the only genre that exists in it is what? It's science fiction, fantasy, or superheroes, which is the same thing.
Right.
And I told people when I did the Science of Superheroes DVD in 2005 that the only movie that's ever going to be relevant from now on is going to be superhero movies.
Facts.
And it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Black Panther proved that.
Come on, man. I was waiting my whole life to see a Black Panther movie. I don't give a damn who did it. How about that? I don't give a damn who finished. Put whatever Jew name you want on it. I've been reading comic books since I could read. I've been playing these things out in my mind since, you know what I mean?
Right.
Before video games.
Yeah.
Before video games. Okay? The comic book was the video game back then when I was coming up.
Yeah. Facts. Facts.
So now that it's here, why wouldn't we take advantage of that? Why wouldn't we put ourselves in a position to actually be seen in the mythic sense that gives us more power on the spirit realm? Why wouldn't we want to do that? Black Panther made more money than any Marvel movie or any other movie has ever made.
Yep.
Ever in the history of movies.
Right.
You understand what's going on?
Yeah.
In the history of cinema, this movie made more than any other movie anywhere. Meaning that there's been no movie on the planet. Like, I'm really going in. Like, there's been no movie in the history of movies on the planet Earth that we live on that's made more money than this movie. And the actors in it ain't make more than $1 million. What does that say? That coincides with a report that I just read that says for every $100 bill exists in a white family, a black family only got $5 out of it.
There you have
You mean to tell me? I read another report that said at the time of the Civil War in 1865, the national GDP of black people was 2.1%. In 1865, they said that the national GDP of black people today is, you ready?
I'm ready.
Is only, wait, what did I say it was in the beginning?
You said 2.5, something like that?
2.1%. 2.1%. It has now in 2018 risen up to 2.2%. You hear what I'm telling you? You see what I'm saying, Moor?
Right. Yeah.
We have not gone anywhere. These blacks ain't seen no progress.
Right.
None.
Right.
None. And you will never see it so long as you keep calling yourself black. And that's what I wanted to put forth in the book too, man.
Yeah.
Is that historically speaking, black is not really the issue. It's using it in the improper venue is the issue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if a regular person that's not a Moor refers to me as black, I'm not gonna be such a stickler to be like, oh, well, you can't call me that, this, and that. I'm not gonna do that. But when it comes to that court, when it comes to that police, I'm not identifying with that.
Right. Exactly.
Because according to the law, I can't be black if I'm North African, if I'm a Moor.
Right.
I can't be.
No way.
According to them.
Yeah. That's right. That's right there is you basically giving false identification right there. That's automatic.
Thank you, Moor. You might well call yourself a monkey. You might as well do that.
That's what they're gonna
And
call
again, this is not to diss people who identify with calling themselves black. Because I know what that means.
Right.
But don't get mad when that cracker comes and apply the legal meaning to that to keep you locked up.
Yeah.
Because that ain't got nothing to do with me. These blacks are slaves out of their own mouth. It ain't got nothing to do with the Caucasian no more. This is what they say they are. They want to admit to that. They want to sign on to that. That's why I wanted to also write a book that actually projected us, our people, in the future.
Right. Yeah.
As a people, as a united people together. You don't see that. When you see future movies and shit, it'd be like one black, like the Star Wars, it'd be like one black man and like 50 million white people and aliens. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the race of black people at?
Exactly. Yeah, man. And it's serious. And I noticed you went in because you talked earlier about Kael, and I noticed that you have a whole race called the Muakael race.
The
Morakiels. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, bro.
Yeah, indeed.
That's right.
That's powerful right
the
there.
Story with that is, that came from a story I read with Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix said that at a point where he reached almost like the height of his success, he was practicing in Ladyland one night and was playing these chords at such a frequency that it incarnated these beings. And these beings, they call themselves Muwakiels.
Wow.
And they existed on a level of frequency that was outside of this dimension. And that he was able to reach them whenever he got to that level. But to do that, he would have to do a lot of, or he felt he had to do a lot of like LSD and shit to get to that point. And then he would invoke the frequency, and then he would either come there or they would come to him. So he would go to where they were from, or they would come to where he was from. And he said they would give him keys as to how to open up stuff. That's why he was so with the transcendentalism stuff.
Right.
Because he was going all the way up. So when the crackers found that he was actually dealing with extraterrestrials, that's when they had to put the hit in, and that's when he was gone.
Right, right. Yeah, that's...
Bear witness, people who could bear witness to this, there was these two twins that used to play with him. They used to call it ghetto fighters when he was coming back to the hood. And I had met them through my godbrother, Supernova Slum, and they built on it too. So I was like, wow, that would be dope, man. If there was all, and it would explain our connection to music, how we're able to vibrationally access points like that through the symmetry of the sound and all that. So I was like, okay, well, this is like an aspect of, to me, the Muwakiels represent the Moorish Americans or the Moors on the astral plane now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who are waiting for us to raise the vibration up enough so that way they can open up the gateway and come through and help us out. You know what I mean? But that also, the Muwakiels, or that aspect in the book also represents the higher self that we have direct access to, so long as we are being ourselves to access it. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
That's why Mike Shine was able to, in a book, there's a character called Mr. Mike Shine, and he's a rapper.
Right.
And he's able to, whatever he rap about in the magic mic come true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. That's dope right there. That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like our version of the Green Lantern.
Right.
You know
Using the
what I
mic. Yeah, no doubt.
Right.
No doubt.
Right, because I tried to pattern each character as an archetype of something people already familiar with. So like Supreme Magnetic, that's SM, so that's like Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Velvet Edge, that's like Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? Mike Shine's like Green Lantern. What's his name? Midnight Man, that's like the Punisher, or like Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
So each one is like identifiable. The goal is to get it out where I can put it out almost like a series or whatever, and then create the we use that as a means to get people into them characters the same way they're into Batman and Superman and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because in the end, I wanted to do something that was more reflective. The one thing that always got me with black superheroes is like, well, why would I, if I was a superhero, a black man superhero, why would I want to turn people over to the police? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I? That's why certain black superheroes never make sense to me. Like, why would I, if I know I'm a black man and the police is crooked, why would I use these powers than to turn people over to the same crooked police? Why would I do that?
Exactly.
That don't make sense to me.
Nah.
But what if it was a position where the heroes, like in a book, when Supreme Magnetic gets with the guys, he basically says, look, they're going to see us as villains anyway. So instead of being heroes, why don't we go out and actively act like villains towards them, but then we save the people.
Right.
So the people know that we heroes, but they're already going to call us that. So let's be that, but then don't kill nobody. The only people we kill is them.
Right.
But with the people, we save.
Yeah.
So eventually the people won't flip it. And in the book, that's basically what happened. Because I don't know how you can have a hero who is brutalized by police, and then the next day, you're catching a child, a purse snatching and giving over to the same police that whip your ass. Like, nah, that
don't make sense.
It's maladapted. That don't make sense. And one thing about when it comes to original people I notice when it comes to our fiction or fantasy or whatever, it's still gotta be rooted in some sort of reality.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That's real. And it all plays within the mind, how we think. And I want to ask you, because I know there's a lot of symbolism in this book.
Yes, sir.
And even, you explored about the colors, like I said, velvet,
Yes.
velvet edge. And I'm going to ask you about Black Herman in a moment. But how do symbols and colors play on the mind? Because even in the Circle 7, even in Moorish Science, we deal with the 7. Our Moorish flag is a red flag with a green 5-pointed star in the center. So these all trigger certain things. They all have significance. So how do these colors, being that we came up growing and watching reading comics, because the colors are so vivid, that's how we as youth identify with a lot of things. How do they work on the mind?
Everything, especially when you're melanated, we're melanated, so we have actual melanin in our retina, corona, our retina, the corona, the pupil. There's actually melanin in there. So we have an active relationship with color in the sense that our melanin absorbs every color that we look at. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So any color that is reflected that we see with our eyes is actually a mirror of some color that exists within us. You know what I'm saying? Caucasian people, for instance, they have issues with certain foods and certain things like that. So they have to bleach a lot of their food because they don't produce a chemical naturally called bilirubin. And bilirubin allows you to process color internally. So when we can eat regular bread and stuff like that, they got to eat white bread. They got to have white sugar. They got to have white eggs. They got to bleach everything, take the color out for them to be able to process it. So when it comes to color initiation or color activation, we tend to vibrate to all of them, to any color, because we're not in a natural opposition to them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it becomes a situation where certain colors bring about certain frequencies. Like Osiris is green, right?
Yes.
The Hulk is green, right? Man-Thing is green. Swamp Thing is green. The Green Lantern is green, right? Green represents, excuse me, Amazing Man in DC. He has a green thing. We had a character called the Green Hornet. Anytime you're dealing with green in superhero characters and stuff like that, you're dealing with characters that exist based on the will. The Hulk is all about his will based on his rage, right? The Green Hornet, he don't really have no powers, but his will to do right is what puts him in a position. The Green Lantern is his will that allows the ring to make the forms that do what they do. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Green is also the color of Islam. See what I'm saying? Because we as Bays and Ills fulfill what? The will of Allah.
The will of Allah.
As Muslims, right? Because we are the beneficiaries of Allah. And whenever you're dealing with a beneficiary, you're dealing with a will, right?
Exactly.
Right. You're dealing with a testament. You're dealing with a covenant. You're dealing with a creed. So those of us that are tied to Islam in that way, we function under, let's say, the green aspect. You know what I mean? Then connected to that now is the red, right? Spider-Man is red and blue. Superman is red and blue. Captain America is red and blue. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Why? Because the red represents the RNA. Excuse me, the red represents the DNA, the deoxynucleic acid, right? And then the blue represents the RNA, which is the alien DNA, the ribonucleic acid, and how they both work together, right?
Right.
So red is also a symbol of desire and sex, right? So Superman has what? Red boots on, right?
Yes.
The feet represent sex, right? And then he has red underwear on, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which girdles his private part.
Got it.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Where the desire comes from. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this is what I'm saying. saying? Like when they working together, same thing with Captain America. He's red, white, and blue, but he's specifically red and blue because it's the DNA and the RNA when they work together is what creates the individual. See what I'm saying? It's the DNA coming together with the RNA that creates the hemoglobin, the actual plasma that creates life.
Right.
So for all of us that exist here, like we are human beings. Me and you as Asiatic beings with melanin in us, we are total humans. Caucasian people, for instance, anybody with an RH factor in their blood is dealing with non-human DNA. Rhesus monkey, non-human DNA, Neanderthal. Just because the Neanderthals' brains or skulls was bigger don't mean that their brains worked. You understand what I'm saying? So you got some crackers trying to put it out that if you got RH, the new shit is they putting it out with you got RH DNA and then you somehow smarter than a regular person when really it's the reverse.
Exactly.
So all of this color frequencies, when we talk about color frequency, we talking about chakra frequency, we're talking about the Kabbalah, you know what I'm saying? And all of these things come into play in the origin stories of the characters, come into play with the actual structure of the character. Like when I build a character, I don't build it from the perspective of fantasy. Like I approach it as if the person was actually real. You know what I mean? Like a real person.
Yeah.
So that way when I write the person and you read it, you're reading it from the perspective of this person. That's why Mike Sean, when you read him, he don't sound like Velvet Edge. And Velvet Edge don't talk like the Midnight Man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I like to write the characters from a perspective like they're individuals. So even if you don't like the book, you might like this character. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because how this character talked was symbolic to something that reminded you of that. Or maybe you would like to be like that. Like with all of the cop killings and stuff that we see every day on TV or whatever, we are all suffering from PTSD with that. We are suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome from seeing our brothers and sisters murdered every day by police for no reason. Nobody's talking about the psychological effects that has on us every day, and we're supposed to just walk around like it's all good, like it's okay, like it's supposed to be like this. So what they're saying is that my life don't mean nothing.
Indeed.
So how are we going to be empowered? How am I going to empower my son? How am I going to empower the children? We got to show them people that's not scared to stand up for what they said, even if they don't see that in real life. How is it the only person in mainstream media right now banging on Trump or speaking up with Trump is Maxine Waters? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. And you got Negroes coming up against her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not don't get it twisted. I'm not no Maxine Waters fan. Like I'm from the 80s, the 90s, and 80s and all that. So I remember she tried to extort Tupac and them and trying to get a record label out the deal when they was protesting the CDs. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Right. But if the elder sister, whether she bully or not, if she's strong enough to bang on this devil, then we should be strong enough to back her up.
Right. Yeah.
But no. But these niggas want to get along more than they want to get. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
These Negroes want to go along. That's why I tell people, enjoy the movie. Black Panther was a celebration. That was wonderful. That was almost the epoch of the age, because it showed us in a position as to not only how we got here, but what potentially we could get. So I'll go see Black Panther quicker than I'll see Birth of a Nation any day.
Right. Yeah.
Any day. And it ain't got nothing to do with Jews or black people, whatever. I'm tired of seeing niggas as slaves, period.
Exactly.
So if a cracker make a movie where I'm fresh off these crackers behind, and there's a black king in it, guess which movie I'm gonna go see? I'm gonna go see that before I go see Superfly.
Right. Real
talk. Because I done seen that. Because I don't live that. How about that? I done grown up in the hood, man. I grew up in the crack era. I know what that's about already. I need to know about what it's like to run a government, what it's like to have your own country without no crackers in it. Like, that's what I need to see.
Right.
So if these Jews is going to give me that, guess what? I'm gonna go see that, right? And then use the inspiration to then do my own.
Indeed. That's what movies in a lot of ways, what they have done and are supposed to do. Anyone, like we grew up in the 80s, everyone will tell you, yo, when they started their drug reign, yo, Scarface was my movie, son.
Remember that? To this day, these Negroes still acting like Scarface.
Yeah.
Still.
Yep.
You ask Patino about Scarface, he don't even want to talk about this shit.
Nope.
You see what I'm saying? Like, Negroes is stuck in the past, man. They stuck in an outmoded form of it. Look, the new niggas today is the white boys and the breakdancing French people. Like, those are the new Negroes today. The niggas that's keeping hip hop alive today is these Swedish niggas and the rest of these people doing whatever. This music today got me to the point I don't even listen to music. This music that they playing today make me not want to listen to music at all.
Right.
So I find myself having to break out of that and listen to stuff that I used to like.
Right. Yeah.
You know? Or it's even put me in a position to be like, you know what? Because like with the book, what I did was I did a soundtrack to the book. Because in the book, I talk about how Mike Shem was a part of this group called the Concrete Evidence. It was like Public Enemy.
Yeah.
And what wound up happening was when you hooked up with the character Supreme Magnetic, he put all of that energy into doing a tape called the DS418 mixtape. So what I did was make the mixtape that me and the Queen recorded, basically the soundtrack to the mixtape spoken about in the book.
Oh, okay, that's dope.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this way, it's like cross-marketing, number one, but number two, a way to bridge the sonic part of it to that.
Right.
And creating a way for us to be able to take back control of it. And plus, I don't know anybody ever did a soundtrack to a book. So I did it like that. That's why I called it a comic book novel and not a graphic novel.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Indeed.
Because I'm more about the literacy with it too. That's why you notice it's like pictures sprinkled in it, but it's mostly text.
Right.
Because I found out that our people don't read. We don't even read books no more, man.
Yeah.
We don't even read.
That's real.
Niggas read Kindles. You know what I'm saying? Like libraries is literally like the Detroit Library. I'm trying to do an initiative right now to go and basically claim the library because the Detroit Library, I seen pictures of it. They closed it up in 2000, I think 11 or 10 or 9 or something.
Right.
And it ain't changed since then. You got books strewn all over the library. Libraries all over the country closing. Like how you let these niggas within 80 years?
Right.
What? My great grandmother just died. She's 94. Right, blessed the dead. Her grandmother, her mother, then grew up in slavery.
Right.
Basically, her mother's mother basically grew up in slavery. If that's the case.
Right.
How is it that we go from less than 100 years, niggas being killed for reading, to the point now where niggas is closing libraries because nobody's reading books? And then you wonder why this crackers is why these devils is ruling. Because it's not even them, it's the people.
Yeah.
The people have allowed themselves to become the commodities that these crackers have said that they are. So you can't expect them to treat you like human when you don't act like one. Humans read books, man.
Right.
Humans comprehend shit. Humans have direct communication. We haven't had direct communication since the internet.
Yeah. That's facts.
When I was growing up, they told me technology was supposed to make my life easier. I have yet to see a computer make my life easier. And I'm 45 years old, man. This is crazy. This ain't gonna get no better. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I'm laughing because just today, just before the show, you hit me up like, yo, I'm having trouble with the Hangouts, man. Give me a call.
Can you call me? Because this shit ain't working. I'm telling you, boy. And I know I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not retarded. I know how to work basic shit, but nah. Certain technology, that's what I know with me, too. Certain technology with more, certain shit just shut down around you, man. Certain shit just won't work. I'll be talking to Moors. And as soon as we start talking about some elevated thing, phone go out, phone start clicking. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it is. If you talking BS and you're not going to do that, it don't matter. The minute you start talking about self-determination, you start talking about setting up your own business or doing this and that, this when all the problems will come in.
Indeed. Yeah. They don't want us to elevate more. They don't want us to elevate.
So we got to find other ways out. That's why, like I said, writing books, that's a way out.
Right.
Like, I blacked out writing that, man, to the point where I got to go back and read it because there's things in it where I was just so focused on finishing it.
Yeah.
And then once it finished, show you how this reality is hard on Moor. The sister that I got to edit the book, fine. Everything fine. We speak, it's great. She edits books. This is what she do. No problem. Send her the book. 2 weeks later, get a call. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to get it back as soon as I was going to get it to you because this person in my family died. This stopped happening in my life. The computer broke down. This, that.
Wow.
Like, it was like, yo. And I purposely didn't even tell her nothing about it. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Just purposely, just to see.
Yeah.
No. Because when you doing right in this reality, everything in this reality is going to test you to see if you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, brother.
Everything. And they don't write books about that.
No.
They don't tell you what it's like to actually, when you declare your nationality, what actually happens to you is that your physiology, your genealogy begins to change to match that of the day and the ill genetics that you are claiming now. That's why you can't even talk to certain people no more.
Yeah.
You ever know as soon as you got your nationality and you have the independence and you live in your life, you're not even preaching to niggas. Niggas just stop talking to you.
Yep. They disappear.
They stop talking to you. They disappear. They start talking shit behind your back. Oh, he on that. Oh, he on this. Right?
Yep.
People in your family start acting crazy. Oh, you a Muslim now? Oh, you this now? Oh, you this? Oh, you that? Oh, you. They don't even know. They don't even know. They just know that something about you done switched up.
Yeah.
And now the shit that used to mean something to you with them don't.
Right.
And God forbid you do better or you know something that the niggas you came up with don't know. Oh my God, you don't want that.
Right.
Or what you think you smart now? Or what you think you got knowledge now? Or what you want some knowledge shit now? Or you want that black power shit now? You know what I'm saying? Like this is like where's the books on that? Where's the lectures on that? On how to deal with that?
Right. Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Where's the seminars on that, Mo?
This don't come with no manual, Mo. There's no manual to this, fam. You on your own. You gotta figure this out.
You on your own. Word, Mo. You on your own. The closest thing we got is a Circle 7.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Niggas is hating on that. Niggas say, oh, he got that from a Life is Levy. Oh, did he? Well, where did Life is Levy get it from?
Exactly.
Ask that from that. Where he get it from?
Exactly.
Oh, Pascal Beverly Randolph. Oh, okay, the Moor. Okay, so it did come from a Moor.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Father never say he wrote that. He said he compiled it for you.
That's right. Divinely prepared.
He ain't no time to write that.
That's right.
How you gonna write that? Give y'all a nation. Give y'all a flag. Give y'all a constitution. Give y'all an inheritance. Give y'all a birthright. Like, goddamn, what else he was supposed to do? He had to write y'all Bible too? Like, come on, man. Come on, man. These Negroes be hard, but let this cracker come up. Let this cracker say, oh, well, this is $2,700. These niggas don't debate.
Nope.
They don't talk about the price. They just come up with the money.
That's it.
That's why I say, Moor, no more. If you've been in this longer than 2 years, can no other Moor tell you nothing.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Because most of the Moors that's talking, most of the stuff out here don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Most of them don't.
Yeah.
How can you? When they reorganized everything after 1938 under Kirkman. Nobody's talking about that.
Right.
And when Kirkman took over, according to the FBI report, there was 32,000 members. When he became the Supreme Grand Moderator, as they say, he don't know where none of them 32,000 people went. How are you the head of the national organization And the day before you take over is 32,000 people. And the next day you come over, them 32,000 people gone, and you don't have no way to contact them or find out where they at. How are you the head of anything?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. And Moors is rocking with it like it's cool. So then I gotta be cool because I ain't trying to violate Act 5. I ain't trying to cause confusion.
Right.
It's cool. Now, if y'all love it, y'all like it, I love it. Cool. I don't gotta deal with that shit though.
Right. Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and try to justify confusion.
Right.
If y'all don't think that that's confusing, then it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, cool, man. Like, if y'all think that what that dude thought was greater than what the man brought, who actually set off the situation, then cool. How is it that y'all prophet got a little plot on the ground that you can literally walk over, leaves was on it, you never even see the plot? But then this other dude, he got a straight mausoleum. The man that set up the resurrection temple, this thing got a straight mausoleum you can damn near walk into. And Kirkman and them. How is it that the niggas came after the prophet, got better tombstones than the prophet himself? That's what I be wanting to know. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, that's disrespectful. But,
you know more. I tell you like this. This is what I always say. This is the situation with our people. We are so caught up in, I hate to say it, man worship and line worship. Because I'm a person like, look, I'm an active member in the temple, and I'm actually a sheep. So I understand the politics of it. And I respect everybody in their body. You know what I'm saying? I keep it on love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. But one thing I noticed, and I ain't been in it no 20 years or nothing like that, and no disrespect to those who have. What I've noticed is this. Our people have this thing that's similar to what you find in Orthodox Islam, where it's about the man after the man.
Yes.
The lineage.
Yes, Moor.
We came through this. Moor. We came through this line of Prophet Muhammad. We came through this line of such and such. And I mean, if that's the way you think, that's the way you think. But in all the writings and all the texts, the spiritual texts, there is no middleman.
No, there is not. There is only Allah.
Right. Exactly.
There is only Allah. Yeah. And all of his prophets, who are his messengers, who are the thought of Allah, manifest so.
Yes.
That's why we can respect all the prophets as our brothers, because that's literally what they were. Exactly. But again, when we say Allah, we're really speaking of the highest self. We're speaking of the highest aspect of self. So in that manifests physically as like our head. Right. So in that's what allows us to look. That's what I mean. When I found that out, I said, oh, this is where the nation of gods and herbs got it from. Right. You see what I'm saying? So now I'm even more connected to that. You see what I'm saying? Oh, this is how the Nation of Islam understood it. Okay, because now I know where the root of it came from. Y'all niggas can't tell me that the apple is the root, man. You can't do that.
That's right.
You can't convince me that, and I'm not trying to negate the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm not trying to negate the Father Allah. Those, again, are prophets, the same way the prophet was. That's why even in Nation of Gods and Earth, the Asiatic calendar, they list all of the prophets' birthdays. They list Noble Jew Ali. They list Elijah Muhammad. So why, if I include them, then it's a problem. Right. Because again, it comes down into this cliquey, personal, and keep it real more. One of the other things I wanted to show and prove in the book was the connection between the Freemasonic societies and all of these pseudo-black societies through the archons of these niggas that have infected the movement, the Divine and National Movement, that have infected the so-called Black Liberation Consciousness Movement, and have been working with the cracker since the time of the NAACP. Ida B. Wells, A. Philip Randolph, W.B. Du Bois, all them niggas work with Yankovic and the rest of them to set up the NAACP. That's how she found out who was going to get lynched.
Exactly.
How she know? How she know who was going to get lynched the day the lynching happened and she in New York and ain't no damn internet? Come on, Sam. Because they told her what they was going to do.
That's right.
They created that whole Harlem Renaissance thing to get away from the Black Wall Street thing, which is what I wanted to put in the book too. Where I wanted to show what happened at Black Wall Street in terms of the juxtaposition with that.
Yeah.
Because that's all it was about. It's about putting the boule up like that's the niggas that's we supposed to be like. When these is the niggas that's leading us to the ovens, man. These are the niggas that's working in tandem with this cracker at every chance he could get to keep us all enslaved. And I'm not just talking about black people. I mean at the top of every organization that's doing something for any group of people. They are all bonded together through that goddamn oath. I don't give a damn what they say.
Right. Right.
And you cannot be the prophet. When our prophet came, he said, I'm here to take the sword off the feds. That's what he said.
Yep.
So all y'all niggas that's putting on aprons and y'all calling yourself Moorish Americans and all of that, and you calling your Moorish right, this and all. Come on, man. Stop playing games, man. Just say you like the regalia, you like dressing up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You like the little jewels and stuff. But you don't gotta be in no Freemasonic lodge to do that. You don't gotta do that. The prophet freed all of that up.
He did. He did, Moor.
Freed it up, Moor. He said that all the secrets is done.
Yep.
And he had Suleiman Muhammad, who was the first one out of all of the Shriners to come straight from Egypt and told all them niggas, none of y'all niggas is real Freemasons unless you come through Islam. Period.
Right.
And this was in the damn 1900s, man.
Yeah.
This is before all of us was here. That's why I feel like when you reach a certain level more and you're proving yourself faithful by holding down and you've been holding on to faith and living what you're living, but you're not putting yourself in a box. Allah brings forth the bounty of the inheritance to you. You don't have to be out here striving to be something else and acting like somebody else and dressing like somebody else and putting somebody else's name before you. I mean, I know Moors, man, they be doing wild stuff now just to everything other than declaring their nationality properly on a record. Right. Everything other than that, they'll do. Yeah,
you're right. You're so right, man. It's
These will put on dresses. These will put little dresses on. I've seen Moors put dresses on.
No, man.
And I say, well, where your fez at? You put that on before you put on. Oh, man, I don't deal with that.
But you put on a dress. You a Kemite.
I'm a Kemite. I'm a Israelite. I'm a whatever the new thing this is this year. They'll be everything other than themselves.
Right.
Meanwhile, the only people on file banging on the devil, the only people on file that's not enslavable, the only people on file that have vast dominion in every nation on the world, the Moors, we're the ones now that all of a sudden now we're the ones that sold the black people to slavery. Like, these niggas is crazy. They're crazy. They're literally crazy, Moor. That's why I was like, you know what? Put it in a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Put it in a comic book. Give it to the children.
Right.
Let them fix it. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to get it.
Indeed, bro. Yeah, that's the key, man. And that's why, I have this show. I cater this show. One thing I wanted to do was bring authors in because me, myself, I'm an author. Yes, sir. And so I can relate. You talked about the struggle and what the process you go through. Like when you write a book, like you put your essence in it. That's something I know from experience. And like you said, you can black out. You go through like it's
I
like
bet you just part of the book that you wrote, you don't even remember writing and shit. People go back to you like, wow.
I will read the book again. I'll be like, yo, I wrote that word.
Yep.
Is that real, man?
Yep.
And you touch people's lives, man. And that's like, yo, that's the greatest reward. I just had a sister hit me up via Facebook and told me she read my book, What is the Higher Self, a second time, and how she got more enlightenment from it. And it had me break down, man. Like, that's what this is about. Like you said, reaching the babies, reaching our people, and having them open up from this knowledge, man. And it's needed. It's definitely needed. And one of the things I saw in your book that opened me up, because I've been having various people speak, and one of the recurring people we talked about in history was P.B. Randolph.
Yes, Randolph, yeah.
And you have him in the book, and you also have Black Herman. Now, Black Herman struck me because the brother who I interviewed before, Eric Munjin-Bey, who has a book out called Noble Soul, I had the opportunity to build with him, and he spoke about Black Herman. And it just so happened Velvet Edge is a protege of Black Herman, and he was just dropping it. So I want you to go into Black Herman and talk about him.
Black Herman was or is the person that Houdini based a lot of his stuff off of, based upon the time that there was a time in American history they referred to as the mesmerist or the spiritualist history. And that was around the time that Randolph reached his ascendancy. Pascal Randolph was the son of Edmund Randolph, who was one of the co-signers of the Continental Congress, and his mother was a princess, a Moorish princess from Madagascar. He wound up growing up in New York, though, in poverty because something happened when he wound up being, I think they tried to enslave him. And he wound up escaping, and he grew up in the 5 Points, like in the movie Gangs in New York.
Yes.
Remember that movie?
Yeah.
He grew up in that area. And so from that point on, he taught himself to read and eventually was able to understand law enough where he was able to claim his father's estate. And then once he did that, he started going heavy into what's called the mesmerism, is what they referred to it at the time, which is really occultism. And so he went so heavy with it that he wound up being crowned the Lord of all the Rosicrucians in the world. In France, he became one of the biggest importers of hashish in the biggest importer of hashish from Turkey and Morocco in the United States. This is like right before the Civil War. He also was the founder of the Freedmen's Bureau. He also wrote speeches for Abraham Lincoln, who we know Abraham Lincoln. Okay, remember that black picture? They got a picture. They said this is a real picture of Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, Africanus.
Like a black man.
Yeah.
Right, that one. That actually is Lincoln's father. That's Doug Meade. That's Lincoln's pops. His name was Doug Meade. And Doug Meade was a straight Moor, what they call Melungeon. He was from the original, again, Congress and all that. So he was hooked up, him and Randolph or whatever wound up. Randolph and Lincoln hit it off because of, the relationship between the Moors and all of that. Matter of fact, Abraham Lincoln defended a Moor in court and got him off because they was trying to take his land because they labeled him as a Negro.
That's right.
And Abraham Lincoln was the one that got him off and got him $600. On top of that, $6 grand back in the 1820s, 1860, that's like $6 million.
Right.
So he got the Moor off and paid. Then right after that became president. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all of this is tied in. So while all of that's happening, Black Herman, now going back to the old Louisiana and all that, Black Herman is not an individual. Black Herman is like a mantle that individuals will step into. See what I'm saying?
Right.
And then be Black Herman. You understand what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Like Batman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like Bruce Wayne's Batman, but then they got like Batman Beyond and they got Batwoman. It's a mantle.
Yeah.
That people walk into. So Black Herman at the time, he was the mesmerist escape artist. And what he was doing, or one of the things he was doing, the one that was in Harlem, aka Benjamin Rucker, when he was in Harlem, he was a master escape artist. And so this was at the time when they was trying to like run when the big thing was bootlegging, like liquor and all that. So a lot of people used to be employed by Lucky Luciano for people to run the liquor for them in Harlem. Because you remember it was all segregated and all that.
Yeah.
So Herman used to get bread from the bootleggers because he would put on shows and shit because they would have all this bread. They go things, so they go to Apollo or whatever, and he would put on shows outside. So he got so big that he started getting to the escapism. And then that's when Houdini and them started hearing about him, coming to check him out. And so they said one day he had such a big crowd that he got arrested for disturbing the peace, right? So they said that the police brought him, put him in the jail, locked him up in the jail. And while he was in the jail, the same police was walking outside, saw him on a corner, putting on another trick for audience and shit. It was like, but I just locked you up. Like, yeah, can't no. His famous thing was, can't no chains hold Black Herman. Because, like I said, it was a mantle. Because it's also going all the way back now to the old Louisianan culture, right? When they would have Madame Laveau,
yes,
and those type of people. You know what I'm saying? We came from that whole era. The Black people was really using magic and shit to make a lot of stuff happen. But that part of our history, again, is listed as like science fiction. You know what I'm saying? Until the crackers do a movie like Angel Heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And show you like how we was really jumping from one lifetime to the next, from one body to the next, and all of that. Like
right.
that's how we really get down. That's why we wouldn't mind dying. You know what I mean? Because
exactly.
death was just the portal back to this situation. And then we would come back even more. Like if you notice, it was killing so many Black babies at one point in history that Black babies started getting born light-skinned. But what would happen, you would see that the baby would get darker. Why? Because they would have real dark ears, real dark genitals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And real dark thing. And then after a while, or they would have those, what they call Mongolian patches of God smack on their ass. Like they had like the little melanin patch.
Right.
And then as they would grow older, they would, we would fade and their melanin would balance in. Why? Because the Yakub and the nurses in them killed so many dark babies that in order for the dark babies to be born, they had to be born light. This is still happening. That's how my daughter came out.
Wow.
My daughter came out, I'm like, who baby is this? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, who baby is this? But then when I looked at it, because, I'm thinking straight melanin black incarnating this thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when it finally came, I was like, wait, who baby is this? But then I'm looking at her, okay, I'll see what's up. Her ears mad dark. Her genitals stuff mad dark. Underarms mad dark.
Right.
And everything else light.
Right.
Then I realized, then that's when it hit me, like, wow, Allah is the best knower. Like, our babies is so survival orientated that they know that the dark skin babies are the ones they targeting. So we coming out like to be dark. Damn, we ill.
Yeah.
That's some Black Herman shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's some real what they call transformative magic.
Right.
Because you have what's called speculative, you have what they call practical magic. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Ceremonial magic. And then you have what's called operative magic or real magic.
Right.
Magic is just knowing how to operate. They're like using the cheat codes on a computer. That's really all it is. But science, Arthur C. Clarke said that science appears as magic to the lesser mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's when I realized, like, the real science is how we were raised. Like, I was raised, like, I grew up a single child. I didn't have brothers and stuff until I was in my teens, and they was half. So the majority of my childhood, I grew up, like I said, in the 80s, like everybody else. So in the 80s, what was that? It was crack,
Mm-hmm.
He-Man, crack, He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, rap, right?
Yep.
That's it. Comic book, that's it.
That's it.
Star Wars, that's it. That's all it was. So I was into all of that. The crack, I ain't had no chance. I ain't had no choice because my neighborhood was riddled with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My family was suffering from this thing.
Right.
But the escapism of that was what? Comic books, toys, He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Kung Fu movies on Saturdays at 3 o'clock.
Yep.
Like, all of that is what created the basis of that. I learned more about science from watching shit like G.I. Joe and Transformers or whatever than I ever learned in science. I learned about theoretical energy, watching
Mm-hmm.
Transformers. I learned about quantum hydrodynamics. You know what I'm saying? Watching Silverhawks and shit. Like, I didn't know that that's what that was.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. I learned about cold fusion watching an episode of G.I. Joe with Serpentor. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But I don't know that it's that until now. So now in seeing that, that's when I realized, like, no, I gotta get, maybe I'm going about it the wrong way. Maybe what I need to do is do what Lucas and these niggas did, and basically just go all in with that and put all the symbolism and all the knowledge and all the culture in that. You got people that to this day dress up like Skywalker every month, go to conventions every month, Darth Vader every month.
Yeah.
What would it be like to go to a convention and see somebody dressed like Supreme Magnetic or Midnight Man or something like that? Like, that's where I want to get into.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to get it there, I gotta, get some sort of funding up to do that happen. Because when I go to these, try to get them to, distribute or whatever, you know what they want to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They want to lighten them up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They want, real talk. One told me straight up, like, okay, this would be great, but instead of him being a serial cop killer, what if he was like a serial drug dealer killer? I said, oh, so you go back into the hood and kill the black people, right? That's how you want to do it? No. No, he kills police. That's his job. That's what his character do. You know what I'm saying? Same way Jeffrey Dahmer ate niggas, this nigga in real life, in the story, this is what he do. So this is what he's gonna do. So no, I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
I'm not gonna change the integrity of it to make it into something just to sell it to somebody. When really my base, my community is right here. I'm almost scared to do a Patreon page to raise money to do it, because I know so many other people have done shit like that and they don't come through with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I know I'm going to come through with it, but God forbid, but what I've learned in this movement too is that for some reason, people in this movement like to pay people that they know not going to do nothing with it. They like to give their money to people that's going to screw it off, man.
Right.
That's charlatans and shit. They like to give it to people who is not going to turn it into nothing for some reason. Almost to give themselves the excuse to not move on and do nothing for real.
Right.
And that's messed up, man. That has nothing to do with me or you.
Exactly.
That's something with them.
Right. I say that people like to live off hope and stay in that. It doesn't come to fruition. You know what I'm saying? And that's a sickness in our people, man, because it's like you said, charlatans will come through and they sell hope. And then people be like, yo, but we got a hope for the black people. He's got a vision. And I was like, but what actually took place? What came into fruition?
Exactly.
And they don't have that. And then they will actually attack you and berate you for addressing that fact. And then when you actually put in the work, they don't give no
they expect
shine.
You to do it all for free.
Yeah.
They expect you to do everything for nothing. But then this devil, this occupational government will say, well, you have to pay this amount of money to do anything. They will come up with the money. They don't question this white man at all. And he's the one that needs the most questioning. Exactly. So that's when I realized more. The only way we're going to create or do the world we want, we got to create it in the minds of the people.
Right.
So that's why I said, well, I'm going to write the hell out of this book. And inshallah, I'll use it as the dovetail to create the perspective, the possibility of a future in the mind of the people. A lot of my books is going to be really based in that, understanding that there is a future outside of the one that is predicted for you, and that there's a way to go around doing it. I'm doing another one. I just finished up I don't know if it's a prequel to the DS-14, but one of the characters I mentioned in it was John Henry.
Mm-hmm.
John Henry.
Oh yeah, the story of the hammer and all. Yeah.
So I just wrote this whole thing with him, about him, and what really happened with this dude. Kind of on the same length of the DS, but a little bit iller. Basically, in a nutshell, after he won the fight against the machine and allegedly died, he wakes up in an alternate Earth where these people, these beings, is cloning him and created a whole slave race
of
him. clone him after that, acting like he died and shit. Meanwhile, they create a whole slave race to do that. So what he decides to do is escape that, get rid of or kill all of the clones, and then basically follow an ancient thing called the Gilded Path as a means to recreate reality, where there is no suffering for Asiatic people no more.
Right.
You know, so I'm striving to get that out. And, you know, sometimes, like, I'll be writing this book, and I don't know if that happens to you like that as a writer, but, like, I'll be writing it, and then halfway as I'm writing it, like, I'm reading it as I'm writing it. Or I won't even know, like, I'm writing it, but I'm kind of reading it as I'm writing it.
Right.
Because I don't know really what I'm writing. Like, I know what I'm writing, I know what I want to write, but as it's coming out, I don't really have no control over it.
Yeah.
Because I kind of put myself in the mind, at least when I'm writing it from these perspectives, I put myself in the mind of the actual character. Like what it would be like to be this person with this understanding. And then from there, you know, that's why I think voices is very writing as a people. That's the thing. Like when I was first coming up with Moorish Science, there was literally almost no books out there on Moors. And the ones that was on Moors, it was like in the early, like in 97, 96.
Yeah.
The only book out there on Moors was like Golden Age of the Moor.
Right.
And like J.A. Rogers. And then like anything else that had Moors in it or was talking about Moors was always based on Spain, or it was from the perspective of like being foreign.
Yeah. Yeah.
More within the past, since I would say 2000, maybe right before Obama, 2006, 2007, the amount of Moorish literature, books that's actually written by Moor is like astounding.
Yeah.
And that's why I see the progress with us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
It's actually Moors that actually are creating their own ways of expressing themselves and how to disseminate that to the people. That's really where it's at. And like I said, more anything that we can do to support that literacy, that's where it's at.
Indeed, brother. Definitely.
That's why I appreciate it. You having me on, you know?
Absolutely, Mo. Definitely. And I appreciate you for your work, man. I appreciate you for, you know, your commitment. You've been in this life as far as teaching, not just living it, but you teach it. You know what I'm saying? You're a teacher. And I know what that entails, the sacrifice that has to be made with that. And you've been doing this for a long time, brother. So I commend you, honest to you, brother.
Thank you, Noble.
Keep the work, keep up the work, brother. And
thank you, King. I appreciate it, man.
And you know, inshallah, man, I would love to have you come out this way where I'm at in North Carolina. We can get some things going.
Oh yeah, Mo. Let's get it popping. I'm out there kind of frequently. Actually, the next event we do is, I'm gonna let you know. I didn't know that you was out there at that time, but I'm strive to make that happen sooner or later.
Okay.
I want to support what you're doing as well, man.
Thank you, brother.
Look it up, even if it's something where we do like a Moorish book tour, something where we promote literacy. Because like I tell you, more like these libraries, these public libraries, they need help. That's another aspect that more than are kind of overlooking.
Right.
Like the fact that you're an author and you have a book out.
Yes.
We can go to these libraries and get our books added to the canon of the books in there, and in the process, bring people to the library. That's what they need. Right. They don't have no literacy. Like they have dumbed down their populace to the point where they're almost animals. So those of us that have a little aspect of stuff and are somewhat still spriteful enough to be able to disseminate the information properly, like that's definitely a place where we could put into a lot of instances. Like I'm trying to get hold of the people of Detroit for that library, because that shit is almost the size of the city block, all full of books, and it looked the same way it did when they closed it. Books just strewn all over the damn library. Wow. Like, come on now. Like, come on, man. Like, you can look it up. Look up Detroit Library and see what come up. Okay. or abandoned Detroit Library and see what come up. It's horrible. Man. You know what I'm saying? Sad, bro. So, yeah, more we create the situation. We basically need to start to write and put books, and like I said, all types of books, not just, historical based books or, textbooks Moors like to just dump knowledge on everything, but sometimes people need to read books from Moors about being a Moor. Or,
right.
You know what I mean? Like what it's like to be that, like regular shit, too. Stuff where it's not so just information based. Like, talk to me what it's like for you to grow up as a Moor in the 20s to now. Like, we need to read stuff like that.
Yeah.
These Jews they got all types of books.
Right.
They got how many books and movies they got on World War II?
Yeah.
It's so much you can't even count. How many movies or books we got out about what happened to us between 1492 and now?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And that's our fault. We got to do that.
Right.
You can't rely on these crackers to do that for us. We got to do it. So thank you again, bro, for having me on the show and holding it down, man.
Indeed,
just you know what I mean? Just doing the real work, man. This is where it's at.
Yes, sir. Indeed, brother. Indeed, brother. Thank you, man. And I appreciate it. It's been an honor and a pleasure. We're going to link up, brother.
Sooner than later.
Absolutely, brother. And so once again, family, Aseer Duke of Tiers.
Indeed, man. Thank you guys for having me on. Thank you again, my brother, Shem. If anybody wants to holler at me, you can hit me up at hotmail.com. If you'd like to check out I have the version of the DS418 right now. If you go to www.gumroad.com and type in Aseer Duke of Tiers in the search engine, you can just go down into some of the classes and the people will be there and check that out. And hopefully I'll be able to get the other books printed sooner than later so we can start that book tour more. We should probably do that. Talk about doing that as well.
Absolutely.
This is all this. We got to look out. We got to look out for each other. So anything I can do to help, please let me know.
Thank you, brother. Indeed. And I put up the link to the Gumroad link for your book in the chat. So y'all definitely get that book. Support the brother. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my brother. Inshallah, I'll speak to you soon.
Yes, brother. Indeed. Peace.